You can hear me? We're all good?
Yeah, you sound good.
Obviously, the hope and the prayer is, right, that every week you continue to get better. We just finished our third Thursday practice, and a lot of positives out there. I thought our guys have learned how to kind of process themselves through the week. Totally different preparation for UTSA, a very, very good football team, a team that very opportunistic, very well coached. Offense, defense, special teams present unique problems and issues that during the course of the week we've addressed those. Players have been really engaged with the moment as well. Just to give you a couple quick injury updates, because I know you guys will ask. CJ Hart, we had run further tests on him. Got news early in the week that he would need a procedure. Had the procedure done yesterday afternoon. I went and saw him and his mom and dad last night after the surgery. One of the byproducts of this profession that we love is obviously the physicality of it. And CJ unfortunately has a injury that will now take him out for the remainder of the season. And give him his prayers and thoughts. He obviously was devastated, but very impressed with his resiliency last night. Just visiting with him and his folks about the path and the journey that he's on now. A guy that has bought in 100 times over since coming here. Came in as a transfer, automatically adjusted really well with our team and our roster, really bought in. Obviously a game day starter, was defensive player of the week last week for the Big Ten, but also for us here in the building, and just had embodied everything that we ask. Unfortunately, these things happen, and my guess is that CJ will come back stronger and better than ever. As far as the details of that, I'll let that kind of play out as we go forward, but it was a knee injury that required surgery, not an ACL, but one that will cause him to miss the remainder of the season. So thoughts and prayers go with him. On the flip side of that, Brandon Peters actually threw the ball, like I said, Tuesday. Today he threw it again, looked good throwing the football. Don't know what decision we'll make on game day, other than that he's really progressed nicely, and something that we thought was going to be, a little bit longer than it is, because it's a non-throwing arm, is progressing nicely and has made good gains, especially in the last 48 hours. So excited that we'll get him back sooner or later. Just don't know if it'll be Saturday. So Art will be the guy that takes the hold and has had a good week of practice. The guys have continued to build around him, kind of take his personality, his demeanor, and obviously Tony and the coaches have given him that role as well. So excited about that. Really, everybody else should be involved in the game plan. Do think that we have the opportunity to maybe play a couple freshmen that we didn't get in the game last week, might be out there, but we'll kind of let the game unfold on that first. With that, open up for questions.
Hey, Brett, I'll jump in here and start. Just for clarification, did you say Art Sikowski will start?
Yeah, there's no situation that would put him in there. The only thing option could be, Isaiah. Took a rep obviously last week, and then just with the opportunity now to have a week of preparation. I think that Ryan Johnson also, Matt Robinson have had a good week of practice as well. So really that position is something that is the leadership role of our offense, right? But as the case was last week when BP went down, Art stepped in there, didn't miss a beat. So that same process is going for us now, whether BP's in the game or not. We've kind of trained under the week of the premise or the idea that same scenario could pop up again.
Now, I want to ask you about Barry Wani, someone you have familiarity with from Arkansas. What have you thought about him as a coach and in his rise, and what kind of offense is he bringing to Champaign?
Barry's a very accomplished coach, incredible person, father. He's got two incredible young men, two boys that are just awesome people. When I hired him, he was the offensive coordinator at Fayetteville High School, right? When I was taking over, his dad is a legendary coach, represents everything that's great about our profession, and interviewed Barry. Quickly realized it's somebody I want to have in my program. I had only a tight ends position open, so he worked with the tight ends. He's always had his eye on that quarterback position. A guy that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. When I was relieved of my opportunity there at Arkansas, he was a guy that held over with that last staff, and then got put in the interim role when they made transition again. So I think every time he's been anywhere, he's just continued to make a positive impression on not only the players, but the communities involved in. So he's a very, very accomplished person.
Thanks, Bret.
Coach, I wanted to ask about Quinton McCoy and Cooper Davis, both no longer listed on the roster. Can you tell us?
Both great. Robert, sorry. Those guys haven't really been with us for probably officially recently, but both of them reported to camp, were involved in fall camp, and both of them came up to me during the middle of camp and just wanted to explore opportunities that didn't involve football anymore. Nothing more than that. It was totally their decisions, totally their reasons. I'll leave that up to them where they want to go with it, but just both of them at this time. I'm not saying it's an absolute permanent deal, but I would say as of the moment that we're in right now, they haven't been with us on the practice field for probably at least 2 weeks before the season, and kind of just left an open window for them to process, go through the things they needed to do. And unfortunately for us, right, they've moved on from the football roster, but fortunately for them, both of them are on campus here. And I think, as far as I know, they're attending classes and going to school and trying to progress to the degree they can get a degree here from the University of Illinois.
And then my other question was about weather. It's a little bit better weather forecast than it was. How much change do you put into your game planning and such if it's not that kind of weather?
Well, first, when it's at its worst, we have to be at our best, right? That's kind of our motto that we've had all the way through last winter to spring to summer to fall camp to summer preparation. Whether it's hot, cold, wind, rain, snow, sleet, whatever it is, when it's at its worst, we have to be at our best. So last week it was projected to be really hot. I gave our credit to had a lot of people on campus. We came up with, sure you saw those tent shades, the covers that we had for our guys. That was something that I kind of picked up in the NFL, and a handful of guys took it upon themselves here on campus to make those, and just was awesome. We really didn't have many guys affected by the heat. We had a couple guys borderline get crampy, but nobody hit a full body cramp like we've had in practice or at fall camp. So give a lot of credit to the guys for making that happen. There is supposed to be some rainy weather on Saturday. I don't know if it'll be around here at game time, but it is what it is. Like, as coaches, you prepare for those moments ahead of time, but you got to live through those moments in the present, and that's what our guys will do.
Thanks.
Coach, Sincere McCormick, very dynamic running back for UTSA. How do you game plan for a running back like him, and yet not over focus and neglect the rest of their offense?
Absolutely. Great question. A very dynamic player. When you pop on the film, he jumps out for a variety of different reasons. He's got power, he's got balance, he's got strength, he's got a burst, has the ability to take the ball inside or outside. They do some very unique things in their run game with some counter OTs and then traditional quarterback run game. I think, they've had some quarterback rotation through there, but any quarterback they've had in there has been dynamic. It doesn't matter who was playing, the ability to throw the football, run the football. So that, coupled with a running back and then an offensive line that has a lot of experience, they're a very, very tall challenge for us on Saturday. I think it's something the guys are wired into.
You mentioned a bit at the outset here that you've been pleased with practice. Have you had to fight through any kind of energy letdown after going through week one and all the emotion around that?
No, Sunday, because it was a 4-quarter game, because there was a lot of heat and a lot of guys took a lot of reps, we really didn't take them out on the field on Sunday. So they got essentially Sunday as a full day of recovery, and Monday we hit the ground running. Tuesday, I was a little bit nervous about were they going to be a little lethargic, but it was awesome. It was good tempo, a really good pace of play. Definitely Tuesday is one of your more intense practices, one of your hardest work days. We work a lot of early down preparation, the meat and potatoes of our preparation. And then on Wednesday, I was even more impressed just with the tempo of practice, the energy, the things that we needed to get to work on. They did that. Now, I pointed out at the end of practice Wednesday a couple of issues that they corrected and moved forward on today. So I like the way this group works. But I will say this as a head coach, I've had a lot of really good weeks of prep where we come out and don't do exactly what we want on Saturday, and vice versa. Maybe we don't have a great week of prep, but they come out and play really well on Saturday. I think the moment is what it's all about, right? We want to play well in the moment on Saturday, and I hope that's a group that we have prepared.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Hey, Bret, I think you guys are UTSA's first ever Big Ten opponent. I'm curious about how historically you've gone and prepared your teams for, non-Power 5 opponents. I know that they had a winning record last year. and that you guys aren't overlooking them, but curious about how you've gone about that.
Yeah. Just because one of the things as a head coach you have to be cognizant of is what are your players hearing, right? They interview with you guys, they talk to their parents, they sit with class people in their classes, they hear social media banter, right? UTSA is a football team last year that went 7-5 and could have easily had three more wins and been a 10-2 or even better football team. They competed with BYU down to the nail. BYU, obviously a good football team last year. They returned 21 of 22 offensive defensive starters. Their kicking game is very opportunistic. They got really good, quick, fast special teams players, as well as a couple physical guys. The return game is special. So they execute some things on film that is all coaching, right? They're good players. They're put in the right position, but the coaches have prepared them very, very well. Just different little tasks that I see on special teams that you realize don't just happen by chance. Their coaches have put that in them, game planned them, and put that out. I tell our players all the time, right? Respect all, fear none, right? And we're definitely going to respect everybody that we walk into that stadium, whether it's home or away. It really doesn't matter about any teams of the past or in the future. It's about those two teams in the stadium that day. That's all that matters.
Bret, I want to know, is there any uniqueness to preparing for a quarterback that's a lefty?
Yeah, there is. We talk about that. We actually have a quarterback that can throw left, right, and obviously point repeatedly on film. Now, this guy is a very unique animal in the fact that he is, when you have a left-handed quarterback, it's been my experience that they become very left-handed dominant as a team, right? It just take the exact opposite what you see with a right-handed. But he's ambidextrous. He really has the ability to go both right and left, throw the ball effectively. He can run anywhere. Very headsy player. He's had a lot of experience, even though some of those years have been cut short with injuries. His experience factor is through the roof, and very much going to have our guys locked into just a simple thing like mirror hand and doing certain things to take away their throwing hand is a big deal.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Bret, I'm just curious. I know all camp we've talked about the depth behind your two starters as linebackers. Are you still comfortable with what you have in Tariq and Kaylon to step in for CJ?
Yeah, it was really awesome for a variety of different reasons to have the coaching moment or the teaching moment of Art Sikowski, right? So everybody understood when a backup quarterback comes in the game, the whole world knows it, right? But it's of equal value and magnitude now that CJ Hart, who started last week and played really well for us at the will linebacker, is not going to be there. So it's going to be a little bit by committee, but I think Tariq Barnes by far has had a really, really good last 2 or 3 weeks of camp. Kaylon Tolson, Alec McCarron, there's a variety of guys that will be filling into that spot that I'm very, very excited to see play. And, even though the situation comes about in an unfortunate way, it's something that they have to take as a positive and the opportunity that they're going to get.
And then I wanted to ask you about Aaron Henry and the way that he kind of blends instilling confidence in his cornerbacks, but also finding ways to make sure there's still teaching moments. I guess, what have you just kind of observed about him as a coach? You've obviously known him for a long time.
Yeah. Really an interesting point, right? Like, I literally have known Aaron since he's 16 years old, and to see the progression that he's made as a coach. And I really enjoy sitting back and watching and hearing him coach because he is up in their grill. He is up in them, and he's, very, very coaching friendly. But he makes his points. But on the same account, he's going to put his arm around them and love them up and knows the things that they go through because it wasn't too long ago he was going through those same things. But he's just mature beyond his years. He does have the gift. I always kind of say that there's some guys that just have a presence factor that you can't really coach it or teach it. They just have it. And Aaron has that gift. He's going to be an accomplished coordinator. He'll be an accomplished head coach at some point in his career. Just he's got that ability to see through the moment that he's in. And I think to coach corners, especially because you don't want to, berate them after a failed play because then they're about ready to have another one. You got to coach them out of the moment they're in and give them confidence. And I think he does that very, very well.
Thank you, Bret.
Hey, Coach, I obviously don't really know the specifics of Brandon's injury, but Marquez Beeson came back quicker than what you expected with a soft tissue thing. And it sounds like Brandon's kind of progressing a little bit quicker than you maybe originally expected as well. How much has Tank's influence or Tank's kind of soft tissue work in the weight room and in the training room kind of maybe expedited the health and returns of some of these injured guys, in your opinion?
Yeah, Alec, it's a very good question, and I can see why you draw that comparison. But really, when you're dealing with soft tissue injuries like a hamstring or a quad or something that isn't physically broke or torn, right? Those things get a lot to genetics, but also the recovery plan. And I think Tank and his crew have done a nice job during the course of summer, but also Jeremy Bush and our medical staff have done an outstanding job of really trying to proactively preach to our guys about those cold tubs and the hydration and the recovery and the foam roller, all of the stuff that preaches recovery and injury prevention. I think Jeremy, in combination with Tank, is a really good marriage. Our docs, everybody kind of is focused on how to prevent, or if they do have an injury, how do we get them back as fast as possible? So a little bit has to do on their genetics and just how they're made. A little bit has to do on their recovery plan, but a lot of it has to do with on just really the dynamic of the injury. So you can kind of hurry back from some of those if your body recovers quickly, but an injury like CJ has that involves surgery, those things are usually pretty clear cut.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
You guys have a great week.